right. Okay. So I'm delighted to see so many of you here at such short notice. Welcome, welcome to our Power of Your Face. Let me see, something's showing up. Oh, no. All right. So just give it a couple more minutes for more people to come in. And then we're going to hit the ground running. I've got so much stuff to share. Anna, we will definitely get you a recording, of course. Nice to see you here. And I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint. Last time when I did a PowerPoint, the open house for the Power of Your Face, my PowerPoint didn't work. I had to completely wing it. So hopefully today I'll be a lot more successful, even though I know that Mercury is in retrograde. So let's see. Here we go. And this is for the birth dance blueprint, our open house and Q&A. My tech person called it a webinar, but actually I said this isn't a webinar. It's not going to be a ton of information. It will be some, but a lot of it is answering questions that have come in from people all over the world. So I'm going to try and cover as much as I can and share with you this new paradigm. And I don't know if you can see my team, but I have Shelley, and this is showing up on the top, waving, and Claire. So Shelley is in Colorado and Claire is in France. Inga is very early in New Zealand, I guess, and Claire's pretty late in France. And we'll probably have Karen coming from Sydney soon. And I think, who do we have? Nancy is on a walking tour. So thank you, team, for being here to share who you are and your gifts and light with our community. And let's get going. I'm kind of pretty excited because I love this work and I love to share it. And who am I? I'm Dr. Susan Lange. In 1980, when I was doing my acupuncture and oriental medicine training, I had a radical midwife called Jenny in my class. And she told me to read this book, Spiritual Midwifery. This is where it all started, where my eyes opened. And I cried all the way through. I don't know if any of you have read it. I bet, Inga, you're a midwife. You have, and Claire has. Okay. And I was just so deeply touched. One, it triggered all my own harsh, brutal birth patterns. But two, I just wished that every baby on planet Earth could have the same loving, caring welcome to planet Earth and welcome into the family that Ina May and Dr. Stephen Gaskin had on the farm. And so when I finally found Ray Castellino, 15, 16 years later, and he talked a lot about their community and their work, I just felt like, finally, I was home. So, I read the book, it touched me, I cried my eyes out, but I'm also trained in somatic psychology, Castellino pre and perinatal somatic therapy and biodynamic. So I probably have a lot in common with a lot of you. And then in 1990, and probably some of you have done something similar, I co-founded and ran a big, busy holistic medical center in California. It was the first non-toxic clinic on the West Coast. And that is one of my passions for babies, that they come into a non-toxic environment and we give them the most loving, cleanest environment that we can. But more about that later. But I did get very burned out. I was wearing far too many hats, doing too many things, managing the clinic with my husband, thank goodness, the practitioners, the staff, teaching workshops. I was actually teaching workshops at one point, room surrounds, every 2 weeks, and also doing private practice, which was crazy. Why was I doing that? Because I was being run by my old birth patterns, you know, lost twin, baby sister nearly dying, trying to please everyone and contracting and not having any of my own needs. Do I do that anymore? No. Did I know why I was doing it? No, I didn't have a clue until I burned out. So just a little, bit of formal stuff. This information is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not therapy. That typo there. It has not been evaluated by the FDA. It is not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease, and is not intended as a substitute for any advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. We're not fixing, we're not treating. And this video is being recorded on Zoom, as you know, and the replay will be sent to you, our community, and posted in the Birth Dance portal for other students to review. If you're concerned about privacy, don't share confidential material. And at the same time, be aware that any shares will be so helpful to others. Anytime any of you share in all our programs, as I'm sure you other teachers know, it really helps other people because it touches them in a way that just me as the facilitator might not. So that's there. So feel free, okay? So what are we going to cover today? I'm so excited. How the brain loves to heal. Yeah, and it's the opposite to everything that we've all been taught. What is this third wave that I keep going on about? Some of you who joined us for Power of Your Face or Natural Facial Rejuvenation will have heard me talk about that. I'll explain a little bit more this time. Memory reconsolidation. How do we shift from living through our trauma patterns into a much more joyful, loving, collaborative, creative, powerful way of life? And then the yin and yang of biodynamic neurocoaching. In the last class, we talked a lot about trauma-centered neurocoaching. And I'm also, given that there are so many of you from the biodynamic community, this is really a form of biodynamic, but we're taking it to the next level. So with biodynamic craniosacral, which I love, and I know, all of you who are part of this community who practice this love, how do we use those principles and take them to the next level, bringing in research that's been proven so that we kind of can be a bridge. So, and there is the yin and the yang of that. ABEs and ACEs, you might have come a little bit about that, come across that on my website, The Birth Dance. I coined the word ABEs because it's much more fun than early birth trauma or adverse babyhood experiences, because we use that term ABEs to break through and shift from the adverse experiences into a much more liberated kind of bird's eye view. So it becomes an exercise. So ABEs that were traumatic become an exercise that are liberated. So, and then why teach? This is where I'm encouraging you to consider, one-on-one. I know a lot of you are fiercely one-on-one. And, in terms of talking of the yin and the yang, could you be yin and, in quotes, introverted, inward, quiet, and could you consider teaching your clients how to share this work with others? That would be the minimum, that I'm going to call you forth to do. And, as you're growing and coming into your fullness, and that's what we heard from a lot of people in our prior course that we've just completed, how can you share from your fullness that magic that's within you and knowing that as you share, you're learning and growing and you're touching others. So it's kind of turning teaching on its head, the traditional form of teaching, and encouraging you to take this and share this, with your clients, with your community, with your families, in a very joyful way. That's not about digging up old trauma. It's more about holding a space for post-traumatic growth. So what we start with, as quite a few of you know who are here, who've been in our other programs, this is a very ancient, well, not really intervention, ancient strategy to bring the brain into balance. And when we yawn and stretch, little tiny micro movements, little tiny shifts and neck movements. Oh, I'm going to stop the share. We're going to bring the brain networks into balance. Some of you already know about brain networks, and you're going to be learning a little bit more here. And this is the newest brain science. Yep, it's not about digging up old trauma. It is about bringing the brain networks into balance, and yawning and stretching is the simplest thing we can do. So Inga's going to remind us in an hour. So if we do it every hour, we're actually bringing our brains into balance and creating more optimal psychological health, which is pretty cool, just by yawning and stretching. I'm just going to do something because I keep getting... well, all right, let's see what's next. So, and if you feel you need to, all the way through this presentation and the Q&A, just let your mind wander and let yourself yawn and stretch and see what happens, because we're inviting you to keep coming into the present and to stop letting the past run you. And for most of us, it has been running us. And we're here, I and the team are here to share with you that it can be different. Okay, and it can be a lot of fun. Okay, back to the screen. Thank you. This little one yawns. Fetuses start yawning about 12 weeks in the womb, and that gets their cerebrospinal fluid moving, and it's like a thermoregulator where it calms down their brains, calms down the heat in their brains. And I always notice with my little cat, when he's been running and running and running, hunting mice or something, he comes back, he's panting, he just plops down and he's panting. He won't engage with me or anybody, and he will just keep yawning. And that's fascinating to me. So he is naturally regulating his brain. All right. So tons of questions have come in. So I've tried to kind of simplify them and group them. I'll do my best to cover as much as I can. And just want you to know, this is the first time it's been offered to our larger community. Normally, I've been teaching it online since 2018, but I've been teaching this model since 2005. And it's the first time it's been offered. Before it would, it would fill up with people from the prior courses. And now, given I have such a wonderful team and that we're growing, it's like, you know what? How can we support our larger community in honoring what they're already doing, what you are already doing, that you love, and bringing in these new skills that have been totally proven by brain science. Some of them, I bet you're naturally already doing. And some of them, when you know the brain science, it's going to give you a lot more confidence in sharing certain things to share with your clients to take home and practice at home. And sharing it perhaps with a larger community, which is what my hope is. No, I'm not forcing you, just calling you forth if you feel called. But first I want to share, are you an empath? It's like, why are you here? If you're on this call, I'm willing to bet you are. Or you wouldn't be called to exploring early trauma, or you wouldn't be a practitioner. I know a lot of you are practitioners. Some of you are not. Some of you are brand new. This is totally relevant to you too. But what do empaths do? Yep. Do you pick up on other people's stuff without even realizing? Yep. Do if you hear. And here's what might be a little shocking. Yeah. If you, like me, are trained in trauma healing, including birth patterns, you may be even more sensitized than most. Part of the reason is because we're trained to keep looking for what's stopping people or holding people back. And we're trained to become experts. But, you know, it may be why we were drawn to this work. And we can become attached to all kinds of trauma labels, and they may not even be accurate. There's a lot of research, current research on defining what trauma really is versus emotional distress, and what PTSD really is that causes changes in the brain versus emotional distress that people tend to, when their brains work the way the brain loves to work, that they heal after 6 months or 2 years, or that they naturally heal. So I'm using the word trauma just because it's a word that we all know, but there's another level, which is what happens if we let it go? And can we? Can you? Okay, so are you an empath? Just I want you to kind of hold on to that, because empaths will take on what I call secondhand trauma, which means that we may be carrying other people's trauma. It's nothing to do with us, and it affects us and keeps us stuck. And we may be desperately trying to heal our trauma, heal, but it's not us. You may be doing the same with your clients. And what I've noticed dramatically when I've worked with clients over the decades is when we've differentiated what's their trauma and what's other, it's kind of like something releases and a light bulb comes on and the healing can start, because then they discover they're not broken. It's nothing to do with them. So anyway, I'm giving you some little clues to kind of whet your appetite, and you know, I'm sure some of this, you know, may be familiar to you, and we have kind of distilled it to make it really, really simple to work with clients and ourselves. Who would like to read this out for me? Anyone volunteer? Why your birth story is important? Who's brave enough?
I will.
Okay, great, thank you. Who's that?
Jackie.
That? Jackie, all right. Why is your birth story important, Jackie?
Okay, studies show that in womb, your immediate sense of safety begins, or doesn't. 50% of diseases begin and can affect you in later life. Your brain gets hardwired to be depressed or joyful. Your capacity to love and be loved begins. Studies show in womb that your bonding and attachment style is defined by what happens from conception up to 18 months. How you recognize and deal with danger is determined in womb. General coping skills are learned or not in womb.
Fantastic, Jackie. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us from England. Yes? Yeah, welcome, welcome. All right. So, you know, that's something. Why is your birth story important? It's something to consider. Yeah. And it is getting now more into mainstream. You know, it's something that most of us have known for a long time. And are these good enough reasons to transform those early patterns now? You know, do we want to carry around, oh, I had a terrible experience in the womb. This is why I'm like I am now. Oh, it's where I was for many years. But, you know, could these be? I'm curious. So, I'm being a little challenging in this call because I really want to support you in stepping into a new paradigm. So, do you really want to live your life defined by early ABEs, adverse birth or babyhood experiences? Do you want to be defined by your attachment style? I've been doing supervision since the 90s. I first started with a international healing school, so I got to see what the healers were going through. And sometimes these attachment styles, these labels can keep us really stuck because this is who we are. And I can't tell you how many people have told me when they're coming to work with me, they know exactly, all the definitions and all the labels, and they've done their work. And I know that you've done your work. So we're not saying any of this is wrong or bad. We're just saying, okay, now you know, now what? Yeah, now what? How about ACEs? And in the program, The Birth Dance, we do go in a little bit with ACEs, but we could go into it from a place of huge resource and coming from what I call your core essence. You can fill out the form. Some of you probably already know, and it's on the CDC website. ACEs was a study of 17,000 people. And the more adverse experiences they had, the more immune issues, the more health issues, the more psychological issues, so all kinds of proof that we can be traumatized and stay traumatized. But, I often tell the story of this incredible psychiatrist I met at a conference, and her score was a 9, which 9 out of 10, that's pretty high. And she was a pediatrician, just an amazing, loving, caring pediatrician. And she had used those ACEs to step up and claim who she is and move into her creative power and make a massive difference on the planet. So just kind of giving you a little heads up here. But yeah, do we want it to be defined by them? Or how about inherited trauma, your parents or your grandparents' distress or trauma, or all the way back? I found trauma going back to the 1200s with one of my ancestors, Scottish ancestor, who was poisoned for teaching all about love. So I was carrying his trauma. Yeah. Do I want to? No. So anyway, as an empath, I was carrying the whole family trauma patterns. Not okay. Do you resonate with any of this? Are any of you doing this? I'm willing to bet there's at least one of you doing it. Yeah. So we're going to be exploring ABEs and ACEs from the perspective of the latest brain scan evidence and strategies about memory and early trauma. The brain does not like to carry early trauma. It really doesn't. That started with Freud. How can you change your perspective in working with these early trauma patterns? And are you willing to? Yep. Are you willing to even consider that there could be a more fun, more joyful, more loving, I'm going to even say faster way of working with these patterns, where we're not constantly digging up old trauma like I was. So, here's a decision I'm going to be asking you to make. Do I want to keep doing it the way I've done it and the way everyone else has done it forever? At least since Freud, or not? Freud was the one that started with repressed memories. So just kind of keep that little question. Do I want to work the old way, or am I ready to step into playing in a new creative way? What if you're not broken? And what if there's nothing to fix? And the same with your clients. And this is according to the latest brain research. So it's not me just kind of, going off on a rant. This is what's giving me the courage to step out to the larger community, is that the brain science is proving a lot of the stuff that I've been doing. And I'm sure a lot of stuff that you've been doing intuitively as well, and you're going to discover. So I want to inspire you to make a decision today of whether you want to be rock solid in these new skills that you will be learning in the birth dance, whether you want to create greater ease in resolving trauma and claiming your brilliance. And if, for those of you, there are people I know on the call who are very young and out there, and I'm quite envious because I'm much more introverted, and are totally sharing, who they are and what they're doing and what they're about. And, fantastic. Well done, you. Thank you. But what if you tend to be yin, practitioner, introvert? Are you willing to come more out and share the lightness of who you are with more people, and having that flexibility that, when you want to be more yin and work one-on-one, you can do that easily. And when you're bubbling up inside and wanting to share more with a larger community, that you can move from yin to yang, yang to yin. And I often, I'll show my little turtle later, but this is, I call this turtle mode. I don't know if you can see this. Let me see. I'm going to come out of share. So when you're in yin mode, and this is inspired by Dr. Porges, and I did ask him if it was okay if I talked about that we have a turtle brain. He's gone, yeah, okay, Susan. But when we're, if we're traumatized, we'll go right in, yeah. But if we're just gently yin, we might be kind of a little bit contracted. I have a ton of turtle puppets, but they're in storage right now, but we'll be a little bit contracted. But when we're yang, we come out, which is normal and natural for a turtle, and it wags its little tail, and it's just wanting to play. Okay? So that's why I use the analogy of the turtle that you're going to see all the way through my slides, because they're playful and they don't get stuck in freeze mode for long. It's temporary because their natural movement is in and out. So for those of you who tend to be more yin, I'm going to suggest that what happens when you come into the present, which is what the yawning does, and see what mode you want to be in, whether you're in yin mode or yang mode. I'm going to do a little check-in. Let me see, or post in the chat. Give me a thumbs up if you're more in yin mode today. Okay, all right. I can't see all of you. Give me a thumbs up if you're more in yang mode today. What does it look like, team? Do we have more yin? We have more yin, don't we? Yin, okay. Linda's yin. Okay, and just so you know, if you have your camera off, you're absolutely in yin mode. Yep. And part of the healing, Jessica's in more yin, all right? Part of the healing is taking a risk and coming out and connecting, because that's where the magic happens, okay? So it's like doing that dance between yin and yang. All right. So and out. And the less trauma we're carrying, the more easy it is for us to flow in and flow out as we need, or as that the inner potency shows us. So I went from empathic burnout, being an empath. The title of this little slide is From Burnout to Bliss. And I think in 2018, I taught at a leadership retreat for Acupuncturists Without Borders. And I was teaching on early birth patterns. And I wanted to call it From Burnout to Bliss. And they didn't believe it was possible, so they wouldn't let me title it that. So here I am calling it Burnout to Bliss, because that's my journey, yeah, from empathic burnout, where I was carrying everybody else's stuff, family stuff. Actually, when I was born, my mom was very lonely. They were living in Malaysia. She was away from all her friends. She grew up in Hong Kong, and there was a war going on. People were getting murdered, and she was extremely toxic because she lived above a gas station, petrol station in England. One of the reasons I'm so passionate about eco, I call it, and environmental, health. And she was as skinny as a rake. She looked like she'd come out of a concentration camp. She used to tell that story. And so I decided that I couldn't have any needs because my mom was so sick and so lonely and starving. So I always felt very guilty when I looked at pictures of myself, that this plump little round creature that had come out of that skinny mom. And it was very scary, with the war. And then my little sister died. She didn't die, thank goodness. She was in a coma for 19 days with pneumonia. And I was 4 and she was 2. And again, with that, and also I'd lost a twin in the womb. So there was that twin pattern too that makes you super sensitive and even more empathic. Yep. And survivor's guilt. So I fought really hard to save my little sister energetically, and decided again not to have any needs. Definitely couldn't be greedy, because my sister nearly died, my mom was in shock, my dad was in shock, and the whole community was. And she was hovering between life and death for 19 days. This is a story that any of you who have lost a sibling or a child or a friend or you can go into shock. The difference is she didn't die, but the family still stayed in that shock as if she had. So they were all tiptoeing around her as if she was like this precious China doll that might shatter at any minute. I haven't told it like this before, my story. And as the oldest, I'm the one that had to keep the family together, and take care of everybody. And so I talk about empathic burnout, and living in Japan was a trauma. And when my dad shared his memoirs, I was videoing him for his memoirs a few years before he died. It was the first time I had ever heard that my little sister was in the coma for 19 days, and he was still carrying that shock. I couldn't believe it. They, in fact, were so shocked that they never told us. We knew she'd had pneumonia, and it was like a family story, but it wasn't the fact that she'd been in a coma for 19 days. And we were still living it. Yeah, we were still living it. So I'm sure that you might have, in your family, maybe not immediate family or family history, there may be stories that you have that empathically you might be carrying, kind of at a deep level that may not be anything to do with you. And for me, what really, really changed it was when I realized that it was my dad that was in shock. Yeah. And my mom was in shock. And the whole family had been in shock. And it wasn't mine. I didn't need to carry it. It wasn't my job. My job was to be that delightful, joyful little kid. Don't worry, I'm Jackie, about eating your supper on screen. No problem. It's important to take care of yourselves. But I was that little kid that tried to take care of everyone, and it wasn't mine. I was supposed to be the joyful little kid. So I had a lot of catch up to do, of joy and play and fun. And I'm willing to bet that you might have some catch up to do too. And hopefully you'll join us to play. So that was where I was. And what happened was I looked around at my community. This was around 2002. So Shelley, it was after I met you, and Tara, I see you're on the call, after I met you, Tara, Dr. Tara. And I was teaching these womb surrounds every 2 weeks. And I looked around and I saw quite a lot of my colleagues were burned out. and I went into burnout. I actually had to take a year off and just go deep, deep, deep to go, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What is it I really want to do and love to do? And I went to a lot of very deep places. I guess, you know, you might call it dark night of the soul. And I decided to, from that place, a model came out that took a whole burden off me in terms of teaching room surrounds, a whole burden off me in terms of private clients. And I also developed the natural facial rejuvenation with Mary Louise Muller, which was more about being joyful and playful and, you know, coming from that place where the joy can heal the trauma or let go of the trauma. Not that it needed to be healed, but just letting go. And the birth dance came because in 2005, I finally got this model and I started teaching it with my womb surround students. And I added an extra day at the beginning of the 3-day womb surround. So my 3 days are 6 people, yeah. 6, no more and no less, 6, because there's something unique about the way that, the interaction of that. But there's a level 1, which is what the birth dance blueprint is, which I could invite, because I realized how I'm never going to touch enough people from just 6 people in a womb surround or one-on-one practice. And I used to have a waiting list of 6 months when I ran our great big clinic, and I hated it. I hated it because 1, it felt too much pressure. 2, I was trying to take care of everyone, just like that little 4-year-old soldier. And I wanted to find another way where I could touch more people in a way that lit up my heart, was joyful, and transformation could happen. So on day 1, which is what birth dance blueprint is, I could invite people who were just literally, you know, wanting to dip their toe in the water and get to know about the incredible work, Castellino work, biodynamic cranial sacral, and all the different somatic experience, all the different, my background in somatic psychology, and get to know it, experience a little, see how they could learn, transform, and take it back and share it with their communities. And I realized I had a wonderful student who took 5 womb surround workshops with me. And I realized that they weren't taking it home and making it their own and remembering it. So in this day 1, there's ways that I brought in so that they would remember. It becomes part of them. The newbies get taught by graduates would come back for free to come back into the community and into the field and have fun and grow, because they were teaching the newbies. So I would have people in pods with a grad, a newbie, or a couple of newbies, and the pride of the grads teaching this, yeah. And the newbies like all agog going, wow, this is new. And yes, I can do it. So that came from me being so yin. I went deep, deep, deep into my dark night of the soul, and came out going, you know, there's a bridge. There's another way to add value to what you're already doing, especially if you're Castellino group community. If you're biodynamic, this is something that is really simple to share with your community. And you don't have to have all the birth experience unless you want to go really deep and do that. And I know Tara and Mary Jackson with the Castellino group are going to be doing a very cool, I think, 2.5-year program they're starting soon. So if you want to go do that, do that. And this is a bridge where it introduces people to the work and empowers people who already maybe have learned how to do womb surrounds or have a hunch that they want to teach more people how to do a 1-day or a half-day that is energizing and loving, and you can see the transformation half a day. So that's one of my goals for teaching this blueprint. That's my rant. So here's a simple model, a bridge that people don't have to be overwhelmed. And I had a lot of people assisting me who were trained, highly trained, but they were too nervous to get out there. And so with this simple model, it's a way that you can, build, practice, and using the latest brain science, what works. So you can be a lot more efficient, which is pretty exciting, especially for me, working in a clinic running a clinic, owning a clinic in L.A. People didn't have time to take several days off at a time. They wanted a quick in and a quick out, and they wanted to see transformation. The same thing with their babies. So I had to find ways to work with them that supported them, and didn't take a long time. So there's nothing like living in the middle of a big city to have to do that, to kind of get me on my leading edge. But here, we need to share these skills, which is why I want to share this model with you. But also, trauma healing has a bad rap, okay? Some people will roll their eyes when they say, what do you do? Trauma healing. Oh, and this was really in my face. I've just moved to a new community, and we have some lovely neighbors, lovely. And he is a Vietnam vet, PTSD. And we see it occasionally, and he has had to be quite introverted. He's just amazing. And what he said to me immediately, I think I was on the phone to his wife, and she handed him to me, put him on the phone. And I was like, what's this? And it was because she said, what are you teaching? And I'm saying, I'm doing a program on healing trauma. This was our summer program that we did, those of you who were there. And she handed me to her husband, and he said, oh, I want nothing to do with that. He said, I've been there. I've been to those trauma circles. I always feel worse after that. And I realized that, as a vet, and he's been in these PTSD circles and just came away feeling worse. And that kind of really touched me very deeply. It's like, how can we, help people? And then the next thing we hear a few weeks later is their son-in-law has died. I'm not sure if he killed himself. I'm not asking, but I got a text from her, the mom, the wife, saying PTSD was his demise. So, the part of my mission here is, how can we change this bad rap? I actually said to him, we don't go digging into trauma, and you'll find out why. We do it from a much more joyful place. So hopefully you're going to hear, the next part of the story later, when I've got some time to go and hang out with them and perhaps teach her some skills, because this is kind of a quiet suffering that households have that nobody knows about, but they're silently suffering. And if we, that includes you, learn these skills that are so loving and caring and change the function of the brain, how could we not share it? How could we not? So moving on to this changing the function of the brain. Brain network theory. This has been around for the last 5 years or so. Those of you who did Power of the Face with us, actually those of you who've been working with me since 2018, I've been using some of this research, but it's only now that I've got, with the Power of Your Face program that we just taught, that I got solid enough to go, okay, we can take this to a larger community, and it's time. But it's how the brain loves to function. And if you look at this, and I do go much more into detail if you decide you want to join us, but this is the imagination network, where our fears get held, and our joy, actually, kind of creative solutions. So it's imagination, and it's brought into balance by daydreaming. We're supposed to daydream at least 50% of the day. Isn't that fun? So fun to me to daydream. So the pink is imagination. The T is the thinking network. That's the central executive network. That's the doing network. A lot of the psychological and cognitive therapies are focused on this thinking and doing network, but that doesn't bring the brain into balance. And the blue is the salience network. That's what they call the social brain. It's also the wisdom brain, the enlightenment brain, and it's the area that when everything is in balance, you're in optimum psychological health, and your immune system can start to improve, and pain can decrease. There's all kinds of things that happen when we come into balance. So think of the networks of the pink, the purple, and the blue coming into balance. And one of the simplest things you can do is to yawn and stretch. So the brain loves to do that. It loves to come into balance. It's not that interested in the past. Isn't that good news? It really isn't. Oops. And here, I know a lot of you have heard me, or some of you have heard me talk about the sparkle print. When I first started the prenatal and birth work, it was like, the healthy blueprint. With Oriental medicine, it's that healthy blueprint. And then I saw shifts happen, and it looked like more of a gold print, I called it. And then when I saw the brain network a few years ago, it's like, these are the sparkles. And this is little tiny snips of consciousness between the synapses. I just want to take a moment to take that in. I think I've been going really fast because I want to cover so much, but just taking in that this is what's happening in your brain all the time. And as we let go of the past, come into the present, stop worrying about the future, our brains can light up and sparkle. So, based on that, network neuroscience challenges our current beliefs about everything. Brain function. Nowadays, network neuroscientists don't even worry about the different parts of the brain. It's this whole network together. It's like the brain is kind of like a giant hairball rather than lots of different separate functions, which is interesting, very liberating. So it challenges our beliefs about traumatic experiences, emotional experiences. They do not get held in our body. Feeling states. This is Lisa Feldman Barrett. Memory formation, recall, and reconsolidation. We'll be working a little bit with that today. So all these different beliefs that we have been carrying are not true. So psychological health, communication, and most therapeutic strategies are challenged by the current network neuroscience. Look at those sparkles. And I love it because it is, supporting what intuitively I got to myself in the early 2000s. I just didn't know that there was any science to prove it. There was a little bit. There was the positive psychology community. That's true. And I bet some of you have other, leads that you can share. But, in the last 5 years, it's very thrilling to see that we are biologically designed to be joyful. That's what a book I wrote called The Play Formula in 2014 was about. But now I can really, really claim it. We are biologically designed to be joyful. And look at that joyful brain. There's even a paper called The Joyful Balanced Amygdala. So I'm inviting you to do this, if you see this walking person, to just kind of take a little walk with me, do a 360 or a 180 or whatever you call it, and just kind of suspend beliefs during this Q&A and presentation, and see what you feel called to do next. But here, more research. Let's see if I can't get through to that. A memory is not a thing. It's not stored anywhere. It's a constantly changing synaptic activity. That's what you're seeing in the sparkles. Those sparkles are the constantly changing synaptic activity. There is never the same memory. If you revisit something in the past, it's going to be different every time you do it. So this is what we take advantage of. We make the most of that issue. And here again, memory traces. They're little protein molecules, and they destabilize. So the more we dig up old trauma patterns, or the more we define ourselves by our Abes and Aces, the more we strengthen the memory traces. Yeah, so that they become so strong that they're beliefs, and we think we're stuck with it forever. But when the default network, which was that pink area, wants to solve problems, it destabilizes the old memory pattern. Yeah. When we consciously recall it by, and you'll see this in the exercises, and those of you who've already done Power of Your Face, you might look back and see I was using these strategies, in all our exercises. So when you consciously recall a memory, you can destabilize it because you're recalling it from the present moment. If you do recall it from the present moment, if you're recalling it from the past trauma, you're going to make it deeper and deeper. Okay? But if you recall it from the present, resourced in the present, and I know most of you know what that is, that means you're going to destabilize the old memories, and you may be able to stop defining yourself by the old traumas. And the salience network is where the mindful awareness, mindful observance and awareness, where you're just kind of taking a step back and watching from this really balanced place. And that's when memories can destabilize and disappear. We'll call it that. Let's see. Oh. It doesn't want to show me that. Okay. So emotions and feelings are not encoded in memory traces. So emotions are not held in these memories. But when remembering them and have a charge to it, that's when they keep popping up because we're strengthening. But the amygdala does not get activated when remembering emotional events, and we'll go into that a little more. But this is a key slide, and some of you already have seen this slide. It's huge. Okay, I'm going to kind of sit here for a little bit for you to take it in. Your imagination, that's your imagination network. And your awareness, which is your salience network, regulate your body. So when they're in balance and harmonized, your body is much more in harmony and it can heal better. And I'll give you an example of this later. Your default and your salience, so that's imagination and awareness, networks serve as the brain's backbone for neural communication. So, everywhere I'm seeing on Facebook and online, it's bottom up, for those of us who are pioneers in body-oriented somatic work. We're wrong. We're wrong. And we think we're pioneers. We were pioneers, yeah. But the science has moved on, and let's move on and use what already works with you really well, works for you and your clients and yourself, and bring in the new research. Yeah? So your default and salience networks serve as the brain's backbone for neural communication and control the autonomic nervous system. This is huge. Yeah. Immune system and endocrine systems. This is 2021, Lisa Feldman Barrett. So just, this is, you may, we've all been taught, and we've all been taught about the autonomic nervous system and the polyvagal theory. Let's say those were really helpful. I still really love some of those concepts, and I still use them because they're helpful for my clients. And how can we bring in this new research, which actually is much more liberating and much more simple? Okay. So that's the question for you. Yeah. But this is a key slide. The brain's backbone for neural communication and control the autonomic nervous system, immune system, and endocrine systems. So back to, remind you the brain network. When we have the imagination network, the pink, the central executive, which is your thinking. So you need to be clear at times, but not all the time. If you're too focused, it burns out your neurochemicals. And that's when you need to yawn to refresh your brain. Huh? How simple is that? And then we've got the salience, which is the area that keeps your brain in balance, keeps you harmonious, keeps you in the present, and is extremely, extraordinarily healing from a joyful place. The salience network is the social brain. Remember, it's the joyful brain. It's the wisdom brain, the enlightenment part of the brain, rather. So that's what we need to encourage, and that's what we need to do everything in our power to work to support that. Here's an interesting study, 2020, where when you interrupt the fear, memory reconsolidation. So memory reconsolidation, we've used that word before. It's about where you keep strengthening the memory. Yeah, it gets reconsolidated. Now, this scientist Joseph Ledoux brought this up. His last name is L-E-D-O-U-X. And he developed this. When you come from a place of pleasure or resource in the present, you interrupt that memory trauma consolidation. Yeah. And what these are, this little picture in a kind of couple of sentences, I'll explain that they're the little, if you can see the pale blue and the pale green, these are called AMPA receptors. And supposing when you were tiny or when you were a baby, you got, let's take something simple, bit by a dog and it barked at you. What then happens is these little receptors, anytime you hear a dog bark, those little receptors are going danger, danger, danger. When you do memory reconsolidation in the present from a resource place, those little receptors get neutralized and they just withdraw back into the neuron. What you're looking at here is a neuron, believe it or not. It looks like a knee bone or something. But you're calming down these little receptors that have just kept popping up over and over again and you didn't even know why. And when you calm them down, you're neutralizing them and a dog can bark and you don't have that baby response. Yeah. So that's memory reconsolidation. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. There is a replay that you will all be getting so that you can come back and take it on. I mean, review it and kind of take it in. But
maybe we can do some yawning now. It's about
good.
an hour and that might be a good one.
I think so, because here, I'll just finish this, Inga, but thank you.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Describing a recent trauma or an old trauma increases stress. Trauma-centered neurocoaching decreases it. So Inga has come in at exactly the right time. So let's do some yawns and stretches. Do 3. I'm going to move on from this because we don't want to have our stress increased. We want it decreased. So take 1 yawn and tiny micro movement stretch. And another Yawn and stretch. And if you can't yawn, often people have asked us about this, then imagine you're yawning. Yeah.
Or fake it until you make it.
Fake it until you make it. Absolutely, Inga. So, and then a third yawn. And just remember, if you're all, on camera off, that you may not be getting the benefit as much as camera on where you're interacting with us. So notice how you feel as you do that third yawn. What happens inside? And any questions so far? I'm very aware that I've been zooming along, and welcome Karen, another member of our team from Australia, from Sydney, very early morning. Anybody have any thoughts, insights from what I've been sharing so far? Yeah, Jackie, welcome.
Hi, I did put a question in the chat because I'm interested on your thoughts around, the pre and perinatal world talk about imprints, and then these are put down in our self-conscious, and we, act them out in behavior because it's pre-verbal, and it's repeated in present day life because the subconscious gets re-triggered and we don't understand why. And obviously that's a lot of, Ray's work, Carlton's work, Matthew Appleton here. So I'm just interested in how you're orientating this new, which is sort of turning everything up on its head.
It is, isn't it?
Way of looking at things. I mean, it's quite radical.
It is.
What?
It is. Why do you think it took me so long to share this with a larger community?
Mm.
I've definitely got support with the researchers. One of them is Mark Waldman. I trained with him, and he is one of the top brain researchers. And I've actually said to him in a private session, what is this? I'm talking to the bodywork community and the birth community, and he's able to just sit there straight and just say, it's been proven. Look at the studies. Go on PubMed. If you track Porges on PubMed, 2023 study even, that they're not able to prove. They're just saying that what he's talking about just comes from heart rate variability and using the sinoatrial node of the heart and regulation. The vagus nerve is everywhere. It's taken off. Mary Louise and I have been teaching this since like 2000, and now everyone's, repeating it everywhere, but it's not accurate. It was extremely helpful for us. It's not accurate. Yeah, and all you have to do is look at the studies. So, Jackie, here's the question for you: is, well, I think the question I had for myself was, why am I seeing so many people that I'm working with, incredible practitioners, that are still stuck and are still defined by their birth trauma and are still saying this happened because, yeah. And so, and I know our team think the same. We are so grateful for all the training that we've had. And what I'm seeing in the last 20 years of working with practitioners is, why are they still stuck? Do we want to hold on to the old ways that our teachers have shared with us and are still teaching? Or are we willing to bridge, use what we think works, and consider playing with this new material, which is what the birth dance program is about, which is why I'm offering it at such an incredibly low tuition at the moment, because I want people to start coming out of trauma and suffering and to share from a place of joy. In fact, Shelley, you want to share, because you trained with Ray and assisted him. You're a teacher, biodynamic craniosacral. Birth is your passion. You want to kind of chime
Sure.
in and share your experience? And Jackie, great question. Great question. Because I know a lot of other people are thinking the same. Like, what? I spent all this time.
Well, yeah, and obviously, you know, we are trained, and I know, you know, Ray will have done this in his surrounds as well, is that, you know, you do your own experiential work. So in a report, you know, retort back to what you're saying about why so many practitioners are still stuck, it's because they haven't done the experiential work, you know. And I guess I'm talking from experience there. I've trained with lots of people, integrated baby therapy and various things, and if they don't do their own stuff, they, you know, they don't progress because there's that lack of understanding. So, you know, and it sounds like I'm really challenging this. I'm challenging it because I'm trying to understand, because it's literally flipping it 180 degrees. And Susan, you follow my Facebook page, you know that I understand that lots of things are being flipped.
Yeah.
So this is challenging for me, because I'm just like, oh my God, this is another fact that, you know, I've trained in, I've immersed myself in, that actually isn't true. So what is true?
What is true? Well, here's the deal. Before I have Shelley share, I'm speaking from my own experience, where I went into every single, and this is what I used to say, oh, you haven't, as a practitioner, you need to do your own work. Yeah. And even in an interview that I did with Ray, that you will get if you decide to join us for the Birth Dance Blueprint, I did it in 2012, and we both agreed every practitioner needs to do their own work. Yes, we know that stuff. My question is, do we know every single little, I know every single little micromillimeter of trauma held in my body that was, do we need to carry it anymore? I understand it, I can hold it when I see other people, but now I don't need to look at somebody's, cranial bones and go, oh my God, look at what they went through. I used to, and then I'm keeping them stuck. Well, now, none of that's relevant to me anymore. It's in the past. I know it. I'm trained in it. I can hold that space, a huge space for people who've gone through stuff. But one, I'm not triggered. Secondhand trauma, no more secondhand trauma. And two, do I need to hold them in that place where they keep telling their story? And then the next trauma, and then the next trauma, and then the next trauma. Well, once you've dealt with this, then you'll be fine. Not true. We're just deepening I call them the trauma grooves, the trauma synapses. Yeah. Shelley, you've assisted Ray, you've assisted our beloved Myrna Martin, you've trained with Franklin, who we love. Yeah. You're a teacher. So how is this different in a short time? Because we've still got a lot more to cover. But Jackie, I love your question.
Yes. And, you know, I can understand your concern, because we've done all of these major, and I mean, I've spent years assisting Ray, probably 8 years, you know, through in and out of his trainings and workshops, and Myrna to foundation trainings. You know, I've studied with Franklin. I've worked with Anna Chitty's school in Boulder for many years. 15 almost. So I've been around the block with all of this too, and done a lot of my own personal work. But there are certain things that this new brain science, because of the simplicity, because it's not the looping and the, you know, going down the rabbit hole or anything and getting stuck. And what happens when you're stuck, you know, there's something holding us back. And I think that that's the beauty of what I found by following this work. And I'm so excited, you know, about that Susan has gone off the deep end, you know, and say, I'm gonna swim, you know, I'm gonna and call anyone forth that's willing to look at it, because it is a beautiful, compassionate, loving way to help. I mean, I even have clients that are elderly, a 91-year-old that is learning how to do these amazing, simple, self-soothing co-regulating, you know, his nervous system, and being able to teach it, take it home and teach it to his wife who has PTSD. You know, it's that simple and loving and kind, and it's replacing us just diving into the cathartic trauma piece, and rather replacing it with more joy and playfulness and aspects that can actually help us change that trauma groove, as Susan calls it, into more of the pleasure. Because as Susan probably will be telling you again in later on, joy replaces the trauma. You can't hang on to both at the same time. And when you can blend that in, it makes an amazing change in people, simply without having to do the trauma piece, you know, again and again and again. I have had clients that have came to me with 30 years of talk therapy, and, you know, have done a lot of things with cranially with her and things like that. But I'll tell you, this has been life-changing, not just for her, but for me too, you know. And so I'm excited about it. And I think that anyone that decides to jump on board here is going to see why we are all excited that this can be really transformational in a very short period of time. Okay.
Thank you, Shelley. So, Jackie, we're going to let you cogitate a bit more. Yeah. And I'm sure you'll have more questions, but if you can suspend disbelief during this actual presentation, that would be great. All right. And let me see. So yeah, you know, describing a trauma increases stress. Trauma-centered neurocoaching decreases it. Do we want to spend our life tiptoeing around? And I mean, when I look at working with private clients, how we're able to just shorten the time they even need to see me. And I come out more joyful, and so do they. Let's keep going. Okay. If I can. Yeah. So you know, this is directly from Mark Waldman. Most people believe your amygdala is the fear button. It's not. It's like, you know, Jackie, I know you're good at turning things on their head, and you know, this is you're good at this. This is a stretch, and it's a good stretch. So if you're any of you here, if you're willing to stretch your brain, it's like a muscle that you're stretching. The amygdala is part of your learning center, designed to pay attention to anything that's potentially valuable for your happiness and health. Yeah. It wants you to be happy and healthy. How about that? It's not designed to keep you stuck. I'm shaking my fist here, but you can't see me, but I'm shaking my fist. It is not designed to keep you stuck in trauma or freeze. Neuroscientists have known for decades that memories cannot be stored in the body. So why does Bessel van der Kolk keep talking about the body keeps the score? You know, I've met him, I've seen him present in London at a conference. It does not keep the score. How about that? It doesn't want to, it's not interested. How about that? How about we play with these concepts and try them out, as opposed to repeat the same old stuff that we keep being taught, keeps being taught, which isn't based on the latest brain science. It's like, wow, you know, what happens if the body doesn't want to remember the past injuries and traumas? The memories we have about ourselves are unstable, constantly changing every time we think about them. So again, coming into the present, we then revisit an old trauma, and you're going to learn how to do that. In the Power of Your Face that some of you have just done with us, you learned the basic skills, to share and teach others. And in this, we're going to go deeper, how to actually work with a trauma in a very loving way, in a way that the brain upgrades as opposed to downgrades. That's my language. Trauma-centered neurocoaching is more effective than the current strategies used to work with emotional distress and PTSD. That's not me saying this. I wouldn't dare, being an introvert myself. But I've seen it, I've worked with it. I spent 5 years having my brain turned upside down and going, what? And practicing and just knowing that it so resonated. And I know in the last class I just taught in the summer, the short and sweet class, I just got so much feedback. This is what I've been longing for. This is what I always thought. I'm so relieved. I feel so liberated. Yeah. You'll learn how easy it is to build long-term emotional resilience and enhance post-traumatic growth. And it's easy to teach to your clients, friends, and students. It doesn't require long drawn-out decades. Ray, before he died, we did an interview with him, and he was saying, well, my students have to do so many more years and so many more years. And I think the planet has another 8 years. And I said, Ray, we don't have time for decades of training. Yeah, there are these distilled methods based on neuroscience. I even was teaching him the yawning and stretching. And he was talking about maybe me bringing this into his advanced community before he died. But we need skills that are distilled and that are joyful to help us right now. No more suffering. Yeah, enough. We've suffered enough. All of us, all of you. So when it comes to working with post-traumatic stress, the newest discoveries in network neuroscience show that we do not need to delve deeply into past experiences. Oh, how liberating when you're working with infants. I mean, how liberating for the parents. Our brain is not built to ruminate on the past. This is why it's the opposite of everything that you've learned. Yeah. Nor does it live in the future. It is built to be curious. That's one of our key emotions, about what is happening in the present moment. It is built to be playful, another key emotion, with those we trust, with those who nurture and care for us, and especially with those who seek serenity and joy. So the brain loves to have fun. Healing trauma doesn't have to be traumatic. That's been my motto for decades, but with the new neuroscience, it's proving it. You can get shifts more easily, lighter, faster. What's at work to you and possibly to your own compassion fatigue to know how to do this? Or parents, if you're working with babies, I've had parents come in and they just don't have time. But they do have time to play. They do have time to play. It does take a shift in beliefs and mindset. So here, pleasure during this, what Shelley was alluding to, pleasure during trauma recall disrupts memory reconsolidation. And this is the research, and there's tons. I've got tons more slides. I've kind of pared it down to what I thought would be of most interest to you today. Your current emotional state changes the contents of memory traces. So this is why I'm calling you forth. When you are in a current state of resilience, joyfulness, you're no longer defined by your abes and aces, you are able to hold a place through neural resonance with your client or your family or your community. Even if you don't have patients or clients, this is relevant. Your state can transform memory traces, not just for you, but for others. And this is why it's really important to practice being face-to-face, because that increases the healing multifold. Because working with another person, they're able to hold you in a very stable place so that you don't keep looping back into the trauma or getting pulled into the past. Okay? So I just find it very exciting. Here's another, 2023. Pleasure extinguishes fear memories and reduces any overreaction that the amygdala might have. So, how do you get skilled at this new way of working with trauma, PTSD, and emotional disturbances? Here I've turned your brains upside down. I've got to have something to offer you. Are you up for doing a little mini exercise? Yeah. So we actually teach a more advanced version in the Birth Dance Blueprint, but this is working with giving you an experience of memory reconsolidation. Yep. So I'm going to ask you to think of something light. It's not that you're not allowed to think of trauma, but just think of something light that's been bugging you, preferably recent, that bugs you. And you're going to rate it on a scale of 0 to 10. Yep. So hopefully it's fairly mild, but I know people often bring in really high numbers as well. This is your SUD score, subjective unit of distress. So I'm going to stop the share. And some of you already know this, which is great because then you're holding presence for the rest. But we're going to do one of the key things with memory consolidation. The body loves touch. Yep. And that's probably one of the reasons a lot of you are craniosacral therapists, for example, or body workers. So what the research has been is that some of the highest pleasure receptors are in your shoulders and in your face, which is why we teach the natural facial rejuvenation. We used to discover that people came off the table looking like massive oxytocin, and we go, what's that about? And then I discovered the research about 2018, like, wow. So what we're going to do is have you think very lightly of your issue, okay? And then let it go. And we're going to make this really simple because I'm watching the time, and just gently stroking your shoulders and thinking of just something delightful. Like I'm looking at the garden, I'm looking at my cats playing, I'm looking at the mountains and the sunshine. And just kind of bring up something really lovely for you. Stroking your shoulders, really, really slow. It's like this self-soothing touch. This is what the research shows, that the slower you go and the more loving you are. And we call these warming circles, just the cheekbones. You could do your whole face. You're actually giving yourself a little mini facelift as well. And also now you know that the research is proving this. And you're just giving your body a sense of pleasure. Just be aware if there is a history of sexual abuse or early abuse, that this may not be very pleasant for you, in which case, let's see what I can do. Then you get something soft, okay? And you stroke that soft. Okay? So if stroking your shoulders is a little bit scary or activating, then you just do whatever it takes to find ways to just do this nurturing touch. And notice what's happening inside you. And this is a little mini session, mini strategy that you can actually share with everybody. I've had grandmothers share it with their grandkids. I've had people share it in the business world. Mothers with babies. It's self-soothing touch. And then coming into the present, let's do a yawn and a stretch. And that's a good head movement there. I love that. And who would like to tell me how that was for them? Virginia, I liked your head movement. Who would like to tell me what came up for you? Anybody have a score that went down? Was nodding, Inga's nodding. Who would like to share how that was for you? Scarlett.
I can share.
All right. What's your name? Is it PW?
It's
RW?
Karen. I'll change it.
Karen. Karen. All right, Karen. Yeah, yeah.
So I started feeling very, very comfortable doing this this touch. I didn't feel the slight grip in my stomach about remembering this activation. So, and I just started feeling super nice.
Super
Yeah.
nice. Oh,
you.
well done. So what did your score go from?
I think it was around 3, and it just maybe a 1 or 2. I feel, yeah, it decreased.
It decreased. So that slight grip in your stomach decreased.
Yeah. Yes.
Good.
Yeah. I put more attention into the other part that I wasn't aware of how good it feels just to do
Well,
that.
that works. You're shifting, you're coming into pleasure so that your body doesn't need to hold on to the slight grip. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Karen. Anyone else like to share? Deborah, you want to share? Oh, yeah, you're saying you had practice sessions. Yes. You shared in the chat, so here you are. I put you on the. Is that okay to put you on the spot?
Yes, I know that's fine, Susan.
Welcome, welcome.
I wasn't volunteering, but I'm happy to do it. No, I have a really soft, fuzzy shirt on because it's a little chilly this morning in Hawaii. And so I found just such a really sweet kind of heart-opening softness that came with the stroking. It was just, and touching my face is always such a comfort. Yeah, so thank you. I love this one.
Great. And did you go to a did you score anything, or were you just so in your warm
Oh
fuzzy?
no, I definitely went down. I went from like a 4 to literally probably like a 0. I mean, literally it just, yes, complete shift.
All right, well done. And this is just our little light version of turtling. We're not even in the advanced, but I wanted to give you something to take away, to give you an experience of having a grip in your stomach or something that's making you tense, and just in the present moment, bringing in the pleasure, whatever it is. And this is an easy one, the self-soothing, since so many of you are touchers, and that you can start to change the memory of the old disturbance or trauma. Okay, so well done. All right, we're going to keep moving, and then we'll probably have some more time. I've got so many questions to answer. Oh, there's a hand up. Elizabeth, welcome.
Thank you. So you're speaking about experiences from the present. What if one is actually experiencing something now in the present?
Good point. So if you're, are you saying that you're having a disturbance right now, that you're suffering right now?
Yes.
So you would do the same thing. You would rate it on a scale of 0 to 10. And then, so you're acknowledging it, you're honoring it, you're not staying stuck in it. It's happening. And then, you could do your self-soothing and see what happens in the present.
It didn't change.
It didn't change? Okay. If it didn't change, then often, this is what I found when it doesn't change, that there can be other influences going on that are not yours. Yeah. So hold that thought as we keep going and see if you can ask yourself, do I need to carry this anymore? Yeah. If it's just your stuff, it usually changes. I did this with a grandmother recently, and her husband was dying. Yeah. And of course, she loved him very much. And we did this and it didn't change. And what we discovered was she was carrying so much guilt that it was her fault that he was dying, that she couldn't let it go. Yeah. And then we went into guilt that she was carrying all the way through her past. So we were honoring the early trauma, but we were bringing her into the present. And the next time she did it, she actually took it away and she practiced at home. Next time she did it, it went way down. Yeah. But it wasn't her stuff that she was carrying that blocked her. So, Elizabeth, let's have you just kind of float that and go, whose is it? I'm going to keep going, and you can ask when we get to secondhand trauma. Okay? Ask yourself. But thank you for that. That's a very important question, because that you'll find will come up. All right. So, and thanks for doing that little exercise with me, everybody. Something you can definitely take home and practice. And by the way, we do this a lot. I'm going to be teaching a bonus class on pain, because it's really hard to let go of trauma when you're in pain. And when we do this score and we do various things to clear the pain or reduce the pain, then old trauma patterns can resolve more easily. So that's another clue for you. So, the birth dance blueprint that we've been talking about, it's a model where I'm grateful to Porges. Yeah. And we talk about protect, creating safety, connect. How can you reach out and get support? Like for me, when I was running my Great Big Clinic, it was not possible for me to get support, even though I had a team of 5 staff. Yeah. Because my whole programming was I'm the good little soldier and I take care of everybody. Yeah. And if I don't, somebody will die, i.e. twin. So this is about creating safety enough so that you can reach out and connect. And when you do, there's this natural ebullience. In craniosacral, we'll call it ignition. We call it lift off here. It's that sparkle print that takes you into that level of creativity that you're no longer defined by trauma. It's like, who are we when we're not defined by trauma? Who are we when we're full? Who are we really? Who are you really? So this, we make a big deal that the first third of the class is about going into protect mode. I don't know if you can see me, but I kind of call it turtle mode. And once we've got those principles, and some of them we use thanks to Ray, our Ray's principles, and we've added a different way to work with them that we can touch a lot more people. And then once it's safe, because often you're back and forth between, is it safe enough? I want to reach out and connect, but do I dare? So you keep going back and forth like the baby turtle. Do I dare? But I'm longing to, I want to. I see other people out there playing, being extrovert. And then once you've got that, your backup, your container is solid, you're connected. And this is what you teach. I teach this to families. I've taught this for years to families, and I see them transform. And once they're in that connect and it's safe, then, I'll see the children start bubbling into liftoff. And the parents getting more solid. So, we do this for ourselves first, and then we can share it for others when we become unshakable. And here, again, the safety, we actually, Elizabeth, what you shared, if you stay stuck, we do a clarification where, if your score doesn't change, whose is it?
Hey.
What else am I carrying? That's not mine. Yeah. And then fortify. So we identify who we are, what I call your core essence word, which is what is deep in your core that runs you, but coming from that place as opposed to the trauma place. And then we start reaching out to connect. And yes, of course, you can do this work by yourself. You know, there are lots of replays and there's lots of PDFs and videos and stuff online, but the magic does happen if you can clear your schedule just for this, you know, once every 2 weeks. The magic happens in the sharing when you do the breakout room exercises, when you work with, you know, other members in the community. That's where we see the shifts happen, and that's where we see people go into lift off, which is really fun. But it's step by step. Here's safety. How can your life change when you feel more safe? Who would like to? Yeah, good. Take a screenshot. That's great. Who would like to read this one out for us? Jackie, you did a great job. Well, who's brave enough?
I could read it if nobody wants to, Susan.
All
Unless
right,
anyone
Karen.
else wants to.
All right. That's great, Karen. Thank you. This is what other students have said.
I'm amazed that my resistance are dissolving. It feels like my prison walls are melting. I feel more human and not so isolated or numb. I feel less tense and more relaxed. This work gently reaches under my defenses. Just to move this, I can't see it. And touches me in a way that talk therapy never does. I start to open up more and connect more with others. I can now have normal conversations and interactions. I feel more connected with nature and life and people. I begin to feel more joyful, spontaneous, and even excited.
Thank you, Karen. Lovely. Spontaneous and even excited. That's what the brain loves to do. Thank you. All right, so Elizabeth, this may be relevant to you. So here's a special bonus. And actually, Deborah inspired me with this. Deborah, when you wrote about Hawaii and Maui, yeah? And this is a checklist and 2-part video course, how to work with secondhand trauma. And especially when we have hurricanes and fires and shootings and you know, what's been going on planet Earth all over. If we're empaths, which no, I'm willing to bet you are, then we will keep taking this on, and it just can shock our systems over and over again. And so when Deborah wrote, like, you know, what can you do? And I said, well, I've got this amazing acupuncture without borders, but I also thought, you know, I've got this, I don't know, did I tell you this, Deborah? I've got this video course that I was invited to teach. It was a real course at the Center for Spiritual Living in Ojai after we had some massive fires with flames all around us. And that was pretty scary. And so she called me in to work with her community to help them settle because they were so traumatized. And so you will get this. You'll see how I worked with this community using these principles, and how, again, like I asked you today, I asked a volunteer to work with something light as a demo in the community. And so, and as I say, this is super important for empaths. And Reverend Marilyn decided or volunteered to be a demo. And if you can see, we're not looking serious, like we're not looking traumatized, but we have all been through significant trauma. It was significant enough that my husband and I had to leave our little hometown of Ojai after 23 years and move out, go somewhere else because we were displaced. But Reverend Marilyn, I say something light, please. And she starts with her keys. She's lost her keys and her husband has lost them and she can't get the car out of the garage to come to the workshop. And it ends up going into her mother during birth, during World War II. And her mother's fear and isolation because dad was at war. And how she was carrying that pressure, how they made her, the mother, keep her legs crossed. So Reverend Marilyn tells this story and we're able to differentiate. Yeah, this could be a 3-day birth workshop, rooms around, but it wasn't. It was light. We're laughing. She's quite delightful. She was willing to play with me all the way. And her mission from that came into wanting to help people all over the world from her deep spiritual sense of purpose. So yes, we could do something light, and we've got these deep patterns, and she was able to release that. There was also Maria, a producer from Puerto Rico, who her pain was just getting worse and worse. Her neck pain, her shoulder pain, her head pain. She just said, I feel terrible. And what we discovered, if I'd done the little exercise that I did with you and Elizabeth today, she would have gone, I feel worse. Yes, because what was she carrying? We did the secondhand trauma exercise, and she was carrying the trauma of her people in Puerto Rico because they just had a horrific hurricane. By the end of it, when we're carrying secondhand trauma, we cannot let love or healing in. It's too much. When we let it go, which we see with Maria in this video, she's like, everything melts. Everything melts. Her heart opens. She can take in the community because, as you know, community, I say community builds immunity. Community is where the healing happens. And if we're in trauma, we can't let it in. So it's okay. It's one thing to say co-regulation is important, but what if we're too traumatized and it's too scary? We can't let it in. How do we separate it? That's when we ask, who says it? Okay. So you'll get this, Reverend Marilyn. You'll meet Maria, and you'll get some key steps for working with secondhand trauma. And we'll work with that in the main class too. We work with that in, I think it's the second module. We work with it. This is not spiritual bypass. We're not going, ha, 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 let's just be joyful and laugh it off. We're honoring the trauma. We're honoring how, it can change the brain if it's significant PTSD. And how do we bring in and work with the way the brain loves to heal, the way the brain loves to play, I should say, so that the old trauma traces, memory traces, can be dissolved. So hopefully that will inspire you. Who would like to, I talked about how we can't let connection in if we don't feel safe. But when you can let it in, who would like to read out what people have shared? Anybody else? Thank you to Karen and Jackie. Who else would like to step out and practice a little bit?
Layla, I can volunteer. Oh, Elizabeth?
Okay. Elizabeth will volunteer. Okay, Elizabeth.
Okay, I'm happy to. Can you hear me all right?
Very
Yes.
clearly, yes.
Okay. I've never known before what it was like to have someone who's got my back. My relationships are easier, more loving, and more connected. I feel more vulnerable and intimate, and yet have clearer, stronger boundaries. I have more energy and more enjoyment of life. My life somehow seems easier and more fun. I'll go for that any day, anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
For the first time in my life, I looked out from the stage and can see my friends really enjoying the show and supporting me. It felt wonderful.
Well done. Thank you, Elizabeth. That was awesome. So, and that was an opera singer, by the way. She'd done a lot of shows, but this time with support, it was different. So, here's another bonus for you, pain in your brain. And we're going to be spending 2 hours working with you, teaching you how to work with pain. And I'm sure some of you, if you're a body worker, that you work with a lot of people in pain, and it's not just emotional pain that we talk about with birth, it's physical pain. And how do we work with that if there are 12 pain centers in your brain? Yeah. This is, yes, we may be taught bottom up. We need to work top down as well and bring the brain into balance and help it calm down and bring those 3 key networks that I talked about into balance. So we're going to do a special on that. If and when, hopefully you decide to, I'd love you to join us for the Birth Dance Blueprint. So, oh yeah, and this is another little bonus I just added, this My Smiles protocol. Some of you here already got that. Well done when you did the Power of Your Face 2.0 with us. And what you will get if you decide to join us is that will get you up to speed with another neurocoaching basic strategy that you can immediately use and share. And it's a little handout that you can actually share with your clients immediately. And it gets you coming into the present every hour on the hour. Yeah. So what we want is, we don't want a generation full of traumatized parents and grandparents. We want a generation full of deeply loving parents that would change the brain of the next generation, and with that, the world. That's our goal here. Yep. It's a big goal, but one parent at a time, one baby at a time, one practitioner at a time. I think we could get to it because it's going to be so fun. So, why the birth dance? When you let your own past trauma patterns go and come into the present through neural resonance. Yeah, this is beyond mirror neurons. It's a neural resonance where your brains synchronize, and they've proven it. You affect the brain of your child, your grandchild, and future generations. Just by shifting from being trauma-focused to play-focused. Wow. Here are more questions. I've been answering quite a few questions in my talk, but this is one we've had quite a lot. Is the program similar to, doing birth work with biodynamic craniosacral or the Castellino training? No. I will post a video where I went to Shelley and said, okay, you're a biodynamic craniosacral teacher. You spent a lot of time with Ray. You love all those guys in Franklin. What makes this different? And what I will say is, if you've got those skills, that's fabulous. Yep. You've already got incredible training. Or L.Ac, for example, another one. And the polyvagal theory. And this takes all the skills you have to another level, and you're already so super sensitive and so highly qualified that you're going to really enjoy this next level. So I will get that video where Shelley explains it from her perspective, not just me saying, come do it, come play with us. But Shelley's been through the program. She's been through all the programs. Here's another one that I have had a lot over the years. I don't have time to do all your courses. Yeah. And by the way, the courses are designed to be, a small course, a small course, a small course. It's not a huge embarking on a huge lifelong training. It's doing a little bit and then we integrate. Yeah. And then we do another piece and then you integrate. So can I skip the birth dance and go straight to twin patterns? I know you have a course on twin. Often I've had people say to me, how come other people are more stuck in trauma and you're so joyful? What's wrong with you? I have to laugh. But, lost twin. Those of you who don't know what twin issues are, there may have been a twin who died in the womb or left. Often if you are a twin, you had a twin sometimes, like Shelley. Yeah, Shelley, I'm talking to you. Lost a twin too. I am a twin and I'm stuck. I always feel super lonely, like something is missing. I take on other people's stuff. I'm an empath. All twins are empaths. They have to be, yeah, because they're so connected. Survivor guilt. If we lost a twin, there may be deep survivor guilt. I definitely had massive survivor guilt because I was twinned with my little sister, who was in the coma, and I was always trying to save her. She hated it. She hated it. And I was just so bonded to her in a let's call it an unhealthy twin way. And so I always felt guilty that if anything went wrong and I failed to fix it, that somebody would die. I always had a sense of doom that somebody would die. And if I go back ancestrally, my grandmother lost her parents when she was 2. She was a twin, talking of twins. When she was 2, they died. They were killed in a car accident. So she became an orphan at age 2. So I was carrying her stuff and I was totally connected and bonded and twinned with my grandmother. Not anymore. So here's the other one. I don't have time to do all your courses. Can I skip the birth dance and go straight to family patterns? And a lot of people have done family constellation work. I've worked with an incredible facilitator for the last 20 years on behalf of our mutual clients and patients. And I don't let them go because I don't want them to get re-traumatized. So we do it in a different way. Yeah, I know inherited pattern trauma is my main issue. Can I do that course instead? War. I was born into a war. Some of you, I bet, had parents born into a war. I heard recently from a colleague, his dad was in the military. Actually, yeah, it was when I was talking about secondhand trauma. And he said, yeah, we all as kids suffered because of what my dad went through in the war. And none of us were aware of it. None of us knew how to deal with it. Yeah. Bankruptcy, murder, death in childbirth. So, do we need to be defined by any of this anymore? No, no, no. You can if you want, but no. Now the question, I'm zooming along because I'm looking at the time and I'm so appreciative that you have taken so much time. And remember, there is a replay. This third wave I talk about, surfing the third wave. Well, the first wave that I identify, and so does the brain science researcher Mark Waldman, that it started with Freud when he started talking about repressed memories. And then we started digging for repressed memories. It was just a hypothesis of his, not proven by brain scan research. Yeah. And then Wilhelm Reich. So I trained in his type of training, core energetics, where you were supposed to break down the armor in the body. Yeah. And that my last year, I was just crying the whole time because by then I had started the Castellino training, which was the second wave, yeah, more gentle. So primal therapy, Father Janov, so all that was extremely harsh. I've had clients that have come to me years ago who've done the primal and they just were screaming out their birth trauma and it never stopped. Yeah, they kept getting, now we know those trauma gurus were just getting deeper and deeper and they were just more and more haunted. I'll say it, haunted. Even though he did great research, I have his manuscript, The Biology of Love, but it was all about stuck in the pain and the trauma. Second wave, more gentle, more supportive, our greats that we love, Franklin, Ray, Peter Levine, Porges, much more gentle, loving ways of working with trauma, but still focused on bottom up. And then the third wave, based on the latest research, functional MRIs, diffusion tensor imaging, that tells us what happens when we talk about trauma too much and what the brain does. Tells us what happens when we spend more time with play and curiosity and the strategies that work. So that's why I call it come and surf the third wave with us. We've been surfing and we've been having fun. Another question, how can working on Zoom get better results than hands-on live? Yeah, I know there's a lot of controversy about this. And if people have a lot of trauma or are very introvert or scared, the research shows they do better on Zoom. Interesting, huh? And here's the story of Melinda. She's given me permission to tell her story. She was referred to my husband because she'd had acupuncture for 20 years. She was getting sicker and sicker. She'd done body work, she'd done everything. And she was referred to my husband because he's a homeopath. She managed to get to his office once, our office, our clinic. And then she had to rush out halfway through because of the smell of fish from the restaurant downstairs. So he basically said to her, I can't help you. It's like, I need to see you. And I said to her, well, why don't we try on Zoom? And this was before COVID. And then it was during COVID. And this is somebody with massive brain injury. Let me see if I've got it. Yeah. So she had a major concussion when she was 20, motorcycle accident on the 101 freeway in L.A. She had a near-death experience, found herself under a tree, fortunately. And after that, and she didn't put it together, but I looked at her history and thought, she stopped being able to eat food. Often after a concussion, digestion gets affected. So it didn't matter how much work she did, how much functional medicine, how much therapy. She couldn't eat virtually anything. She was like a little twig. Yeah, I'm just thinking about her. She came to my husband because she couldn't take supplements. She reacted to everything. And I was so longing to get my hands on her head or do cranial work or thinking, but we took a risk. And she had nothing else she could do. And slowly, we were working with this, new way of working with transforming the brain. And she would get these terrible brain shocks because of the concussion and Lyme disease and all the other diagnoses she had. And there would be times when she could barely function, but we kept on it every week in her case because she was so extreme. And this was email. There's a big email that I've just taken out a few bits. I just wanted to tell you, thank you for all the amazing tools and help. So this was only on Zoom, in one of the most challenging times a human being could endure. Honestly, lucky for me, I'm me. She's actually very funny now. Otherwise, anyone else would have taken themselves out years ago because she was at rock bottom. And then a whole long thing about everything she's now eating. She said, I haven't had berries for years. Amazing, I didn't have scurvy. I now baked myself a cake for the first time in 25 years. Me eating a cake, can you believe? I'm now trying cantaloupe, tortillas, all these things I love, I'm now able to eat. I've applied, she calls them all the endorphins that you taught me to place in my thoughts, and guess what? It's working. So what we did was top down. Yeah, she'd done all the bottom up. We added top down. So her ancestral patterns were so extreme that you don't want to know, because of course me, I go into all the past stuff because of all my training, and my focus. It was so bad. We did dig into it very lightly to transform it, let it go. Birth, very challenging and confusing. I won't go into what that was. Age 20, motorcycle accident, massive concussion, NDE, near-death experience. MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome, postural orthostatic syndrome, Lyme, brain shocks, you name it, she had it. And what we did was bring her into her core essence, teach her these strategies that I'll be teaching you, and just kept bringing her back, giving her homework. She did her homework really well. And now I've seen her a few times since she woke up and her body told her she could eat again. But now she's in a place, she comes back saying, Susan, I'm ready to go even bigger. And we're in that creative place of making a massive difference on planet Earth. She sees what's going on the planet and wants to hold a light. She calls herself a light warrior, because she's so strong. So, you know, this is an example that I wouldn't have thought was possible before, but Zoom is powerful, okay? So yeah, I touched a bit on your core essence. We work with your core essence word, you know, why you're here on planet Earth, what you're here to bring, and how that informs everything else you do. It's not the trauma that informs. It's who you are and your light and why you're here on planet Earth. So we're shifting the paradigm. That's why it's a paradigm shift. If you stay stuck in the trauma, you're always going to stay stuck. So, you know, people have asked about teaching, and I'm asking you about, you know, are you ready to share this new model live? You know, I'm going to give you the template that you can practice. So you either do this work for yourself, which is perfect, or you do it for yourself, and as you start bubbling and filling up, where the like a champagne glass, then you start going, how can I share this with others in a very simple, loving way? Yeah, that's super cost effective as well, very cost effective. Special tuition, you probably know this from going online. It's normally $19.97, but until September 28th, it's $12.97. And the reason is because I want you to be able to take it and run with it and share it. Yeah. The promo code is on the website, the Blueprint website, Freedom. So it's $700 off that you'll be getting. And if you have someone you want to share this with, then you'll get another 50% savings. So I'll send you the promo code. You basically email me your name of your buddy and their email, and I send you the promo code, and you sign up each separately, and then you're going to be doing the work in your own pace, your own separate way. But I love to know that you're sharing it with a buddy, so that you don't have to have a buddy. There are lots of people who sign up without, but if you do, it's nice to have someone that you can practice doing this together with, because the more you practice with another person, the more it can help you consolidate your skills and support who you are. So, Birth Dance Blueprint, now here are little turtles inviting you to come and dance with us. Lots more stories on thebirthdance.com. And who is it for? Yeah, who is it for? I know some of you on the call have already signed up, so I'm absolutely delighted. Welcome, welcome. But it's for you if you're super experienced. Yeah, and I know a lot of you are highly skilled, been in this field for decades. And if you'd like to grow your practice to the next level on what works best and add these skills. It's also for you if you're not a practitioner. We've had a lot of lay people do this, and especially with the live events we've had teachers, and you'll see this, you'll see it in the videos. We've had teachers and business owners and CEOs and clairvoyants and writers and judges, all kinds of people, and musicians. So you can have any skill, but if you feel stuck, then you're very welcome. You don't even have to feel stuck. You can just come because you're curious. And if you're new, lucky you. You don't have to unlearn anything. You don't have to do what Jackie's having to do, or I had to do, is change our brains, flip our brains around. So you're all very welcome. Especially this is for you if you're an empath. Yeah. If you take on the energies of those around you, or the world around you, like I was doing, and you're tired of doing it, or you have that twin pattern we talked about. You're tired of doing it, it's exhausting, it hurts, it's not fun. And this one, if you're fed up with being in hiding, yeah, and a lot of us as practitioners, I know for me, it was very safe to do one-on-ones. If you're aware of that double bind push-pull of wanting to be more visible and yet being shy or introvert, keeping safe yet longing to connect. A lot of healers don't put themselves out there at all, not even enough. And I'm encouraging you that, as you unlock from the past and what's been holding you back, you may surprise yourself. You may surprise yourself. And it's a lot of fun to come play with us, because we were all where you might be if you're in hiding. And also, this is for you if you're feeling full. I know some people shared after the last class the power of your face, that they felt full. If you are fabulous, and content and curious about sharing your skills and gifts to larger groups, I'm going to add the word safely, so you feel solid, you're not overextending. But you have a sense that the time is now. You're ready to shift from focusing on trauma healing to creating from a place of fullness. So we welcome you to come have fun with us and, share this work. This new paradigm, this is why it's different. It's based on the latest brain science, as Jackie was sharing. It's very different. It's not the same old material that has no solid basis in the latest research. It's just repetition, what we think works. But when we step back and get a bigger perspective and go, you know what, there's a whole world out there that's a lot more fun, that really works. And you'll immediately come away with proven skills that you can share with others. So, I think you've heard me say before, this work is more about the frequency and clarity that you hold, so that your clients, family, community can resonate with your energy through neural resonance. You're not fixing them or telling them what to do. They're not broken. You're not broken. And when we come from that place and our community senses that, it's a completely different relationship. You're holding the space from your own clarity for them to find their own way. That's why I think it's kind of like biodynamic, craniosacral biodynamic neurocoaching. We're holding that space where when we're holding the top down, bringing the brain networks into balance, the bottom up can be a lot more effective. I think that's the best way that I can say that, to be that bridge. I'm going to say that again. When we're holding that space from the top down for the brain networks to come into balance, the bottom up work can be a lot more effective and lasting. Pretty cool. Hence, biodynamic neurocoaching. But you have to be clear in yourself with a solid foundation. You have to be comfortable with the ease of going in and out, yin and yang, just like that baby turtle, where you don't get stuck in freeze mode. That's not necessary. And yet it's been kind of consolidated into our training that we get stuck. The greater your own capacity and clarity that you hold, the greater the level of transformation is possible for your clients and those around you. So here's the warning, okay? We're not going to be digging up repressed memories. So if that's what you want to do, don't sign up with us, okay? We're going to be gently saying, there's another way. Would you like to try? Play with us. That'll keep you stuck. Only if you're ready to no longer be defined by your early trauma pattern or even recent ones. No? Only if you're ready to let go of the past. So if you're willing to consider even the possibility, even a little sparkle, that you could be ready to let go of the past and no longer be defined by your Abes and Aces, then I think this could be for you. So it takes a willingness to connect, to being in community, to turning your camera on, and considering an exploration of creating safety and then allowing in that support and then the liftoff that happens. Kind of repeating in a different way what we've already covered. But it is a specific blueprint with lots of room to sparkle and to find the way that intuitively works for you. This is all about you trusting your intuition and finding what works for you. And that's how I got to my model, is somehow intuitively the old ways were keeping me stuck. There was something missing. So the real transformation and magic happens in the sharing and the interaction. And I know there were some of you in the last class that really were fully present and interacting, and it's lovely to see you here again. So it's 50% more effective than doing this work by yourself. Even meditation, when you do it, share it with another, is more effective. Isn't that interesting? Because we're taught to meditate on our own. If you're used to hiding, that takes courage. And I know you have the courage, or you wouldn't even have clicked on the button to register. That takes courage, yeah? To take the time for an open house. It takes courage. Early trauma heals through connection, co-regulation, but it's more than that. But if it's not safe, how can you connect? So there's the double bind, yeah? If your clients don't feel safe, now what? It's the double bind dilemma we work with. I've been there. I never felt safe. I was always in hiding, even running my great big clinic. And it really hurt. Yeah. It really hurt because there was such a big part of me that longed to reach out and connect and make a difference. But this other part kept stopping me. I'll call it the trauma in quotes. Huh? Here's where I was. Don't know if you can see me, but I'm all scrunched up in the protect mode, safe, scrunched up, turtle mode. And here's where I am now, stretched out. I don't know if you can see my arms. I'm stretched out and more in yang mode, reaching out to connect mode, reaching out to connect. So what needs to be in place for you to be amazing? How to feel safe enough and connect, to let go of the apes and aces and come into the present moment, into your power and creativity. Do you want to feel safe enough, open-hearted and connected enough so that you can be unshakable in sharing who you are and what gifts you have to others? Maybe not just one-to-one, and of course you can still, but one-to-many. Or if you're a mom or have a family and you're not in private practice, or you're in the business world, yeah. Can you do this? Or does it scare you? Either way, you're welcome. Imagine no longer trying to communicate through the veil of trauma, where you can just be you in the present moment, letting go of the stresses and strains of the past that have been running you, just like they were running me as I was running my big clinic. Running through carrying a veil of trauma. So glad I'm not there anymore. Can you do this by yourself? Not so fun, not so effective. We always say healing is a team sport. It's all about support. It takes a team to create safety together. It takes a team to shift paradigms and grow into the third wave and to claim your sparkle print, and you can do it. Lots of different modalities, so you're going to add this to whatever, and it can definitely make an impact on you, with you financially, because we're going to be more effective. As you know, I'm offering it for a fraction of what other trainings cost. Why? Because when you add these skills to whatever else you're doing, you'll increase effectiveness dramatically in a much more easy way. And we want to see this ripple out through you to others. And when I come out of a session or working with a group, there's no empathic fatigue. I'm not being an empath, no burnout or compassion. I'm on a high. Live coaching starts October 5th. Special offer goes up on September 28th. And we'd love you to join us. I'm going to come out. I will ask you, to ask your intuition. We'll close with that. What are the deepest insights? But before that, we raced through very fast. Thank you, those of you who've stayed for so long for this. Any questions before we close out? Any burning questions? You're welcome to email me. you'll have my email from the invitation. There's Virginia. Question. Virginia,
Yeah.
welcome. Hello.
Hi, thank you. Hi. Yeah, a quick logistics question. It looks like it's going to be Thursdays every other week. Do you have what time of day that's
Yeah,
scheduled?
12 p.m. Pacific.
12 Pacific, so okay.
Where are you located?
Eastern, so 3 o'clock my time.
3 o'clock. And also Anne-Claire has very generously offered to do practice sessions in European time. They were very popular in the last class. So where's Anne-Claire? Oh, I think it's late Anne-Claire time, so you might have gone to bed, Anne-Claire. But anyway, so Anne-Claire will be doing practice sessions. So we'll be doing it live with breakout rooms where you get to practice. And then Anne-Claire will be doing it in Europe. And also what we've done before, I don't know if it'll be necessary this time, but we have paired people up if you've wanted. If you want practice buddies, then that's been very, very useful for people, hasn't it? Team Shelley, Inga, and Claire, Karen. Yeah. Hi, Isabella. I see you. Are you in Switzerland? Talking of Europe. Yeah. You were in Anne-Claire's practice session last, weren't you? Yeah.
And Susan, can I just check how long do those go?
2 hours.
2?
Yeah. We're a little over time today because of all the questions that came in, but yeah, 2 hours. And of course, they're all recorded, Virginia. And then the practice sessions, we ask you to watch the video to catch up. And then the practice sessions will just be literally practice. So we won't review the whole thing again. It will just be practice. Okay. Virginia, anything else? I think Isabella wanted to share. So Isabella, thank you, Virginia. Important question, logistic. Isabella,
Hello.
how are you? Hello.
Hello, Shelley. Hello, Inga. Hello, Anne-Claire, if you're here. Yes, it was very exciting to practice with Anne-Claire because we could deepen what we were learning with you at a time where I was not so tired as I am today, but I really wanted to join in this call again.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very late for you, isn't it? So that's where you get to catch up. You can watch the replay with us. I think we have Chintana in Finland here. She's bringing a friend. So we've got Finland, we've got Romania so far. So we've got some European people already piling up asking for Anne-Claire so that you get to work fresh. And Anne-Claire usually does it in the morning, Europe time. So you get to really practice. And Anne-Claire has done the whole cycle, the 5 elements of trauma healing that I've offered. She's done that with us, as have the team.
Yes, it was brilliant. It was really brilliant.
What was brilliant about it? Just so that she can get a little bit of, she can listen to this later.
Well, I really enjoyed it because it was, she gave us time, to, as you did, gave us time to go inwards and ask our intuition, do the exercises, and come out of this practice really fresh for the wonderful weekend.
So you might want her to do it on a Saturday morning again, is that right?
Well, if she has, whenever she gives it, I will be happy. I'm still looking for a buddy because my friends were not very decided, but we'll see.
Okay, so if somebody, Isabella, is looking for a buddy from this group, then would you be interested in sharing with a buddy? There's one of your cute little dogs.
Yes, I would. And this is also a buddy who really likes your teachings.
Yes, we've met that little buddy before. Yes, well, lovely, Isabella. So hopefully we'll be seeing you soon, and we'll persuade Anne-Claire to do, which she definitely is planning to do, the Saturday mornings. Maybe do it Saturday. Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Inga. Bye-bye.
All right. Anyone else have any other questions? What I'm going to do just for the record is have our team share just a little bit, a couple of sentences or something about how the birth dance has affected you, so that people like Jackie can come back on later. I know she's had to leave, it's late, and hear why, why it's different, or how it's changed you. Anyone like to share? Shelley?
Yes, you talked about the stuck places, and as much work as I've done in my past trainings, I've had the most amazing mentors, by the way, that I really value what they've taught me, and it's given such a great foundation for my work. But this has actually stepped up the process for me, where I was able to break through some of these annoying patterns that I could not understand what to do or how to do it. I've had lots of cranial, I've had lots of birth work, and it still wasn't working. I realized that I was still carrying this. When things got tough, my mom would go into brain fog. I never related it because I was doing that every now and then, like, I can't make up my mind. I don't have a voice, It was this real frozen place. And I was able to break through that and actually claim my voice. And, from all of these little conditionings that happened, I was a beta twin, I was born a twin. I had a lost twin. So there was a lot of twin dynamics and double binds for me. And Susan's work has given me the gift of being able to see clearly what was going on, and that a lot of it wasn't me, and to break through that and change my life to now, my twin brother, he can be his alpha self, but I actually can be my alpha self as well, and kind of have my own identity instead of being one of the twins. You're always one of something when you're a twin. So yeah, it helped me break through some of these really stuck places and double binds that I thought I would never break through. But here I am, and I feel so grateful, so very, very grateful that it was loving and kind and simple. And this community is amazing, and what she says about working with buddies and doing some of the practice sessions together. Our group did that. We're still, hanging out together and doing work together. And so, I love my cranial community and my pre and perinatal community, but this community is really amazing too. So I wish to invite you as well to join us, because you won't be disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. And it is so lovely. We talk about this a lot, don't we? Where I first met you and you were in hiding and doing your work, really very diligent. And here you are. It's just lovely to see you shining, and the sparkling Shelley emerging and supporting a lot of our community in a lovely way. So thank you for everything you've done for the community. Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's see if anyone else wants to share, and then we will close out. Anyone else want to share how it's been for you?
I'd love to share, Susan. Inga.
Inga, would love to have you share.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to many things that Shelley is talking about, like hiding and coming out and changing. But for people that don't know me, I'm I've been a midwife and then a biodynamic craniopsychotherapist and worked a lot with trauma, but this kind of way of looking at trauma and, in a way at birth as well, in that has just been a very different and very, in one way, I like the simplicity of it, but then it's so deep, and the clarification that happened for me in that process, and the stuck places that still happen for me, although I've done a lot of training and work for myself before, was really quite profound on the level of realizing, oh, that's me and that's actually not mine, and I can actually move on. And it has opened up a whole new level for me as well in my life, as well as in my clinical work, where I feel the joy is really a big part of it now. It always was, but it has taken over, the sparkling and fun and helping people to be with that has just been an incredible gift, really. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Inga, and thank you for your own clarity and the way, I watched you shift your secondhand trauma, Germany, war, all that stuff, nothing to do with you. You're the sparkling Inga. Full of joy. Yeah, thank you. That's been a pleasure to have you part of on our teaching team. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so anyone else want to share? I know Anne-Claire, I think, has gone to bed, but anyone else want to share before we close out?
I'm still here. I'll share.
Oh, you are still here? Anne-Claire, I don't even see you.
I had internet problems and I popped back in.
Anne-Claire, were you here when you had the rave review about wanting you to do the teaching, the practice session?
That.
You missed Isabella. Okay. Isabella wants you back. Yeah, Saturday mornings, she said, would really be lovely to have you have a lovely weekend.
Yeah.
All right, Anne-Claire, where are you? I have to find you. Let's see.
So I think the biggest thing for me was being able to clarify what's not mine and find a sense of relief and finding myself, being able to negotiate and learn the skill of being able to differentiate constantly, like all the time. That's not me. That's not me. That's not me. And being able to resource in my core essence of who I am, and really having that as a base to be able to build on has been, I mean, it's incredible, but it's really beautiful, actually, because it's kind of part of being here on planet Earth in a very different way. And so it's an incredible gift. And I think being able to take those, like Susan says, the baby steps, constant little baby steps, and being in that non-judgmental space and creating a safe container by the stroking and just building a safe container where I can feel like it's okay to be me, has been incredibly powerful. And the impact it has on not only just for myself personally, but also for my family, my children, relationship, and negotiating that. And then now stepping out into the world of work and being able to say, like, okay, it's all right. It's okay to be me, and to be able to share these skills. And and people say, oh, we need to do this, that, and the other. I'm like, well, I've got real tools. It's all well and good saying it and having these theories that we need to be able to do these things, but actually having the tools that are really simple to be able to share that, and seeing the profound change and the shifts in other people has been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, keeps me stepping forward as well. So that's what I have to share.
Thank you, Anne-Claire. And yeah, and to see you stepping forward and coming from your core essence, and as you said, those baby steps, and you've just kept stepping forward no matter what, no matter how many obstacles you hit. You just kept stepping forward, and you keep stepping forward, and you are Yeah, sharing so much. And I know the community loves the work that you're doing in Europe. So thank you. Yeah, great. Lovely. All right. So
Big shares to Susan.
yeah. So Karen, thank you so much, Anne-Claire, and I'm looking forward to actually playing with my team in this next class. I'm looking forward to have so much fun, and I'm so excited. And I know it sounds like magical thinking what we're talking about, but I think we've got these very solid, amazing human beings here to remind me that it's real. You know, sometimes I look at my life and go, wow, it's amazing, but look at these others too. So, yeah, thank you, Mila. So yeah, thank you, Anne-Claire. And last but not least, Karen, yeah? Karen, before we can, Layla is this a question, Layla? Or where's Layla gone? There's Layla.
It's a comment about the power, but after people share about their experience, I have something strong that keeps on coming. I was going to bypass it, but I want to share if I can.
Okay.
Right now, or after Karen?
Let's do now, and then we'll have Karen. Yeah.
I wanted to share that for me, at some point I had health challenges that when I was going into a clinical environment, there will be associations that were really getting in the way of my progress. And then restrictions with the global restrictions opened up this avenue for Zoom therapy. And it's been a game changer in terms of my progress. And I cannot say enough about the value of having these opportunities in my own home, and then from there expanding into other environments without having to go into an artificial situation, which is a clinical environment, and then transpose that to my inner environment, and then from that to the community. So there is a lot of value and power in the Zoom experience, and I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Layla, and thank you for your contribution and your presence all the way through the power of your faith. Yep. And we're going to be seeing you in birth dance, aren't we? Yeah, good. And we look forward to meeting Nestor. Yes, lovely. Yeah, and thank you, because Zoom, I remember having a little boy, and my clinic was just a very normal kind of, I thought, innocent clinic. But when he approached and saw the treatment table, he screamed and screamed and screamed. So it triggered something in him from his birth that made it very scary. So, we had to completely change the way I worked. He never went into that room. We played in the hallway. We just played. But clinical can be very, very activating and artificial, as you said. Yeah. Thank you, Layla, and look forward to seeing you again in October. All right, yes. All right, so Karen, thank you.
Yeah, I think that was a really good point made by Layla there. When I started this training, I didn't know how is it going to work on Zoom. And now I practice sessions on Zoom. And I think in some ways, if there is trauma, it's actual advantageous to have it on Zoom, because people have that is the extra element of safety. They're in their own home. There's no other interference there of anything else. And even after a session, the integration, they don't have to leave the clinic and get in their car or whatever they need to do, make a payment with somebody on the reception, go in their car, drive home, whatever. They're already in their home. So, the integration. I think it's you know, there's many advantages of doing it on Zoom, which I wouldn't have had a clue about. You know, it just amazed me when we did the course, the things that would happen and could change. And yeah, has for me just the support that the course provided, or the team provided, that we provided for each other, was phenomenal. And having that, I see how just getting support in my life has changed. And I see that was, you know, not just for me, it was a generational thing. And I can see now how, you know, how much better my life is and my relationships with family and friends. But not just for me, I can see, even I'm in Australia and my family are in Wales, and even for them, I can see that all of my, you know, greater family are all interacting better. You know, they're spending more time together and they're supporting each other a lot more than I've ever known. You know, so it's like I'm even the other side of the world and holding that space for them. And so it's not only changing for me, you know, it's changing for, you know, much of my family and friends. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. So yeah, from Wales to Sydney, and yet you're sending ripples. My dream, you're sending ripples across, and you're stepping out, aren't you, from your holistic clinic to being more doing your own thing. Is that right?
Yes, and it's going great.
Wow.
And
good.
And yeah, so it's on a work level and personal level, doing more too, you know. So as an example, this year I've been learning to surf, you know. So no matter, most people would be maybe stopping, but it's only to my age. But it's something that I always wanted to do. I actually bought a surfboard many years ago, and within a very short space of me purchasing it, I fell pregnant with my first daughter. So I was like, well, now's probably not the best time to be learning to surf. So that was kind of went on hold, but that daughter is now 15. So but now I've been learning, you know, this year, which has been great fun.
Wow, Karen, so remember what we said in the last course. It's never too late and you're never too old. Oh,
That's
go
right.
surfing.
That's right.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for getting up so early in the morning to come join us, which you do every time. And I just want to say, let me see if I can see everybody again. Thank you so much, all of you, for staying so long. We now have this on replay or record, so people can come back and watch it. And thank you, those of you who are going to be watching the replay. And we hope you decide to join us and come play with us and make a difference together on planet Earth. It's time. Yeah, time. Bye, everybody. Hi, Dominic. Nice to see you from Maui, huh? Nice to see you. How are you doing? Want to tell us? Are you up for telling us? You've been through everything plus surgery, huh? Oh, you're on mute. You're on. Let's see if I can unmute you. Can I unmute you?
How's that?
There, perfect.
Yeah,
Nice
I got a new hip. It's a massive reframe from the previous experience that we won't go into because we don't need to regroove.
No,
and
regroove.
Unfortunately, I don't think I'm in a position to take this class, which I would very much like to do, but I'm going to chew on the last class. And then very, very encouraged and also understanding a lot of my perceptions about other people and things. Because, as you know, I had a big, long spectrum of trauma, and people who don't have that can't relate. So as I think you can see in my face, I'm in a really good place, and I'm thrilled that all these people all over the world are doing this work. And I'm gonna throw out my books of Body Bears the Burden.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes, I've got all those books too.
So anyway, it's all really good, and we're just gonna keep going. So thank you. And I would like to reconnect with when I'm a little more, when my fins are more out, that I would like to connect with people in the community here, so that I have support here. I think, you know, for all of us, this has been a big deal, and the transpersonal aspect is radical.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, this is Maui. People probably know about the fires. So
Everybody.
anyway,
Yep.
So we're in a really good place, and we're in a place of healing, you know, and creating something new and a new platform for the rest of the planet and healing. And so thank you for being courageous and intrepid about taking this work into the world, which is so new, and I don't even know the word, you know, it's so different, such a new paradigm. This is the paradigm we're moving into. This is the paradigm we need in the world, and you're doing it. And as a forerunner, it's not easy, but please keep going, you know, and everybody on this call, please keep going, because this is just making a huge, huge difference. And we need this to counterbalance the nuttiness that's going on. So anyway.
Dominique, thank you. Because you've only just come out of your surgery, what, a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yes, 1 week.
A week. One week. Well, so you're doing fantastically, and in the middle of all the secondhand trauma of Maui and everything else, here you are, this bright light, and I know how experienced you are in what the SE world and the bodywork world, and you know, so for you to be encouraging us to keep going forward, because you get it, and I really just so appreciate that. I'm very touched by your heart and your, you know, the light.
Thank you. And I've been holding my velvet pillow and stroking it the whole time.
Good. You're a good student. And you're sharing that with your community, I hope. So I'm sure you are. So
when I get out there, I will. Right now, I'm hanging out with the pillows and the under the covers. We're doing the pillow under the cover.
Excellent.
And my velvet pillow.
You're in
All right.
You're in baby turtle mode, and you're giggling with your caregiver, aren't you? You're giggling. So yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hui ho.
All right. Take care, everybody. So closing out, and hopefully we will see you on October the 5th, a lot of you, and we're going to stay with the team to do our debrief. So yeah, Layla, see you on the 5th. Jessica, see you. Isabella, hope to see you. And yeah, all right. Let me see. And I guess I will, oops. So goodbye, everyone. A total pleasure, and hope to see you on October the 5th.